Summary of The Seven Military Classics of Ancient China by Ralph D. Sawyer. Stretching back into time. Chinese strategic and military thought dates back some 5,000 years. Ancient Chinese clan chiefs fought to establish dominance and create dynasties. As their weaponry and tactics improved, scholars began to study their command experience. Military science became a valued and frequently applied discipline. By the 2nd century BC, China had already struggled through 10 centuries of unrelenting warfare to become a vast, powerful, imperially directed entity. 12 centuries later, during the Shang Dynasty, scholars collected the 7 most profound military classics, the apogee of Chinese military thought as written by its ancient generals. Applicants for military appointment had to be well versed in their ideas. These classics are 1. Treatises 6 Secret Teachings. 2. The Methods of the Ssu-ma. 3. Sun-tzu's Art of War. 4. Wu-tzu. 5. Wei Liao. 6. 3 Strategies of Huang Shih-kung. 7. Questions and replies between Tang Tianzong and Li Wei-kung. The ancient Chinese scholars believed that while imperial benevolence was the best way to avert dissension and civil unrest, the empire could not survive without a strong military. Chinese emperors relied on their armies to protect them against barbarian invasions by violent nomadic tribesmen. Most Chinese rulers preferred non-military solutions to their empire's problems, but imperial scholars preserved and studied these ancient military treatises in secret. Scholars now study these works, but that was not always the case in imperial China during the past 2,000 years when self-styled Confucians disparaged all things military, ignoring Confucius' actual thoughts on the matter. These classics came to light in the 1970s, when archaeologists at a Han Dynasty tomb uncovered a large collection of scholarly texts inscribed on bamboo slips, including major portions of these classics. No one knows what other texts could have been lost over time. Chinese dynastic periods. To understand the historical context of these military teachings, start with the Shang Dynasty, which came to power in 1766 BC. Its vast, central theocracy rested on the nobility's military prowess. Society had 4 classes: the ruling elite, the royal family, slaves, and commoners, mostly serfs. The military bureaucracy headed a royal army of about 1,000 soldiers, or more as needed. Bronze weaponry became prominent. Single battles decided most military campaigns, which set out to support or expand royal suzerainty or overlordship, take captives and confiscate wealth. The Zhou dynasty, which innovated the heavy use of chariots in fighting, overthrew the Shang in the battle at Muye. By that time, the Shang had become exhausted from constant war against nomadic tribes. The Treatises 6 Secret Teachings report that the Zhou employed revolutionary activity to gain military victory. As the new rulers of a vast land and countless, deeply different groups of people, the Zhou employed 6 royal armies to preserve peace. They absorbed 8 Shang armies into their military forces. During the Western Zhou period, 1045 to 770 BC, the Chinese Empire brought all peripheral regions under its central authority. In military technology, armor became more efficient. The dagger axe, or halberd, remained the most popular weapon, though the longer, stronger sword came into use. The Western Zhou dynasty lasted 275 years before its authority dissipated. Feudal lords became more powerful in regional areas. Weakened Zhou rulers continued to reign in some places with the support of local strongmen. The feudal lords fought often, with various groups exterminating each other, vanquishing more than 100 states and most of the nobility. The subsequent spring and autumn period ran from 722 BC to 481 BC. As it waned, despots ruled China's battling states. Their armies often had hundreds of chariots and 10,000 soldiers. The powerful states of Sichuan and Chi each had armies of 4,000 chariots and 40,000 soldiers. As the Warring States period, 403 to 221 BC, began, China had 7 mighty states and 15 far less powerful states ruled by feudal despots. As agriculture and trade grew, even the smaller states developed military forces of 100,000 soldiers. The powerful states had more, with one arming nearly 1 million men and mustering 600,000 for a single campaign. When the Chin and Chu battled, more than 1 million men fought against each other. Extended battles with such giant armies resulted in mass slaughters. The campaigns required years of planning and staggering logistical support, so military leaders ascended, and fortified cities grew across China. In 307 BC, King Wuling introduced the first cavalry, greatly expanding warfare's physical reach. Wei, a powerful state in central China, boasted the famous Wu-tzu as its general and military administrator. Though it played a large part in the era's military history, Wei became seriously circumscribed, with Han in the south, Chin in the west, Chi in the east and Chao in the north. Eventually it lost power and the Chin came to rule all of China. China's 7 ancient military classics. When the leaders of the People's Republic of China address modern military science, they still refer to venerable concepts from works by ancient Chinese generals. These classic strategic essays set the standard for sinological and military history, from 500 BC to AD 700. Emperors carefully guarded these ancient military masterpieces, fearing their powerful strategic concepts would fall into the wrong hands. China's authorities once considered possession of these classics by the wrong parties as clear evidence of a conspiracy plot. Even certain members of the royal family were forbidden access. Ancient Chinese scholars handed down the information in these classics verbally and covertly, from one generation to the next. Eventually scribes recorded the essays on bamboo and, later, on paper, and then hid them. As a result of this elaborate secrecy, they remained largely unknown for centuries. These 7 ancient military classics are the Treatises 6 Secret Teachings. Chiang Shang, a famous 11th century BC general and advisor to Zhou dynasty kings Wen and Wu, held the title Treatises. He also wrote Yin Fu, Hidden Symbols, and seems to have originated strategic studies. However, experts can only surmise chronological rankings based on available evidence, given the passage of time. The ancient Chinese revered him as much on the military side as they did Confucius on the civil side. Highlights of his teachings include 1. Civil Tao, the ruler should be benevolent and put the people's welfare first. 2. Martial Tao, a virtuous ruler can win the minds and hearts of the people, making the state victorious without warfare. 3. Dragon Tao, troop discipline and communication is paramount. 4. Tiger Tao, the main virtues in warfare are speed, maneuverability, unified action, decisive commitment, and the employment of misdirection. 5. Leopard Tao, armies must maneuver in all terrains to contain rampaging invaders, confront superior forces, deploy effectively and act explosively. 6. Canine Tao, these instructions cover training and mustering the main military forces, chariots, infantry and cavalry. The methods of the Ssu-ma. Dating to the 4th century BC, the Ssu-ma Fa, the methods of the Minister of War, is almost surely rooted in far more ancient materials, probably the Treatises concepts. Fa means laws, which it covers, along with government policies, military organization, and more. It also discusses Li, the forms of propriety. A common thread in the Ssu-ma Fa, as in all of these classics, is that aiding the people is the only proper justification for a military operation. Ssu-ma advises battlefield commanders to sow doubt in the enemy's mind, and to leave the opponent's army an escape route so it will be able to retreat from battle. Sun-tzu's Art of War. Among these classics, Western readers are most familiar with Sun-tzu's military strategy, better known as the Art of War. It is the most influential Asian military treatise, though scholars debate its origins. Many generals from Napoleon to Japanese, Chinese, and Korean wartime leaders put its precepts to work. Sun Tzu teaches that generals must be great planners. To him, the ultimate grand strategy is to keep the populace content so it will support the ruler. A legendary figure and wily strategist, he advocated interfering with the enemy's plans and thwarting its alliances. He saw military action as a last resort, after diplomacy, and said generals in battle should manipulate their opponents. For Sun-tzu, warfare was grand deception. One primary principle: go forth where they do not expect it, attack where they are not prepared. Wu-tzu, also known as Wu-tzu, the name of the general and the name used to refer to his writings, is famous for living on the field of war and enduring the same wretchedness as his troops. He is not as well regarded as a person, having killed his own wife and ignored his mother's mourning rites. Ancient Chinese theorists see Wu-tzu on par with Sun-tzu as a military strategist. His forces were never defeated. As a youth, he studied with two original disciples of Confucianism. He believed in using the twin handles of rewards and punishments to motivate and discipline soldiers, and was murdered in 361 BC because of his draconian measures to strengthen the military. Wei Liao. This book is purportedly named for Wei Liao, a strategist and theoretician. Its compilers added the honorific Tzu, meaning master. Seldom referring to tactics, he contended that a Chinese state could survive during the Warring States period only by closely tying its civil administration to its military. He advised that any ruler must exemplify virtue and benevolence, as well as being restrained and moderate in all things. At the same time, he believed that the state should never suppress the military's capability for warfare. 3 Strategies of Huang Shih-kung. Historical evidence indicates that this philosophical work dates from around the 1st century BC, but some scholars contend otherwise. One school of thought, based on debated tradition, says that Chiang Shang, the famous Treatise, wrote this venerable classic, as well as 6 secret teachings. The work discusses balancing between the hard and the soft, and offers 3 quintessentially Eastern strategies that include these upper, middle, and lower concepts. 1. Superior strategy: the soft can control the hard, the weak can control the strong. 2. Middle strategy: the righteous will not die for the malevolent. 3. Inferior strategy: one who abandons what is nearby to plan for what is distant will labor without success. Questions and replies between Tang Treatises and Li Wei-kung. This book compiles, examines, and discusses the concepts in the earlier Chinese military classics. Many scholars believe that it is a forgery, but its value lies in its ability to summarize the primary military concepts of earlier eras. Here, Emperor Lichi Minit, also called Tang Treatises, converses in an elevated fashion with his trusted general, Lichi. Lichi Minit was emperor because he killed his older brother and became the heir of his father, Li Yuan, founder of the great Tang Dynasty. A typical query and response. The Treatises said, if I cause the enemy to perceive my orthodox as unorthodox, and cause him to perceive my unorthodox as orthodox, is this what is meant by displaying a form to others? Lichi bowed twice and said, Your Majesty is a spiritual sage. You go back to the ancients, beyond what I can attain.